The tie vote in committee means Democrats aren't able to formally advance the bill to the floor, but that does not mean the bill won't ultimately be brought up for a vote in the Senate. Joining us now with more on this and other things happening this week is Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn.
Thank you. It's good to join you, and you are so right. We have crisis happening on every front here, and they're all of the Biden administration's making. And you mentioned the voting, as they call it, a voting rights bill. We call it the Corrupt Politicians Protection Act, because it would put in place a permanent Democrat majority. And this is what they are trying to do. They're trying to take away from your local county election commission and your state their constitutional duty to put forward the time, place, and manner of holding elections. And they're trying to bring all of that responsibility to Washington, D.C. to set up a new agency. If you think that it's easy to get an answer from the IRS. Imagine if they were to have a Bureau of Elections and you had to try to get an answer. This is unbelievable. We do think it's unconstitutional, but Tony, it does not stop them. They are trying to federalize elections. They are trying to take every database that your state has of college students, a business license, put them all in the voter registration form, and then prohibit your county from purging or cleaning up their voter rolls. They're trying to institute mail out ballots, which means everybody on that roll would get a ballot through the mail. And then they're trying to normalize and codify ballot harvesting. Say if you've got 5 ballots at your house and somebody knocks on the door and says, "How many ballots did you get? Would you like to sell those ballots to me?" Then they would take those ballots and then they can fill them out for the candidate of their choice. So this bill is something that would make it easier to cheat. And it is why people that are Democrat and Republican are opposing what Pelosi and Schumer are trying to do to your right and your access to the ballot box.
And Senator Blackburn, they're again pulling out the racist club to beat people over the head if they oppose this. Now, this to set the stage, 47 states have introduced over 350 bills to address the irregularities that surfaced in the fall's election. But all of those people, according to Chuck Schumer, I want to play a very short clip of what he said yesterday. Basically, all these people are racist. Play clip number 1, please.
These laws carry the stench of oppression, the smell of bigotry. Are you going to stamp it out, or are you going to allow it to be spread?
I mean, everything to them comes back to racism.
I have to tell you, it is just so insulting to the American people. People that want to preserve one person, one vote. People who want to uphold the constitutional responsibility of the states, the delegation of powers through our Constitution. And pretty much what Chuck Schumer is saying, if you don't pass this bill that federalizes elections, that would require nonprofits to put in place to expose all of their donors, that would have an federal election commission that was partisan for the Democrats, majority Democrat. If you don't support all of that, then they're going to call you all sorts of names. I have friends who are Asian American, African American, friends that are Hispanic, and they all oppose this bill because they think this would diminish their right to have a say in elections. And if this bill that Chuck Schumer is pushing goes through, you know who's going to be picking the candidates? It's going to be the elites, the party leadership. Who is going to be deciding who wins? It is going to be the Democrats and their party leadership. See, they don't want to ever lose again. And Tony, they know that if they were to bring their ideas to the American people would say no. So they're trying to force this through before the 2022 elections, because you know why? They know that they are going to lose. So my suggestion to everybody is realize that a lot of people you go to church with every Sunday are not registered to vote. Get them registered to vote. Go by the election commission, pick up some voter registration forms, and while you are there, offer to volunteer at the election commission and clean up those rolls. Make certain that you have the right people on the rolls. And then thank your state legislators for trying to clean up the election laws and fix holes that are in the system. Say thank you to them for doing their constitutional duty to make certain that we secure and preserve election integrity.
And also consider running for office for those local school boards and city council races. I want to move on before we run out of time to another topic, because while the Biden administration has been focused on trying to take over the elections from the states, while they've been pushing their transgender policy all across America and our nation's military, there are some of you that have been warning about things that have occurred even this week, where we've seen attacks in Israel. Most significant conflict there since Barack Obama was in the White House, but also here at home. We've got gas lines in parts of the country that are reminiscent of the 1970s and the oil crisis. You know, we're canceling pipelines, but we're not protecting what we have. And this cyber attack that took place over the weekend that has shut down the Colonial Pipeline, you had introduced legislation to try and protect these vulnerable resources.
Yes, I have. Having a plan for how we protect our nation's critical infrastructure is essential. I have recommended that we bring talent from the civilian sector into a cyber reserve, and also that we use our National Guard, because many of our guardsmen and women have expertise in cyber areas, and they do that in their day job, and they bring those skills to bear when they are working in their guard duties. And instead of having a rucksack, what they have is the skill set to protect us in the virtual space, which there is a lot of 21st century warfare that is going to be carried out in the virtual space. So we have tried to be proactive on this. We have colleagues across the aisle that have not seen this as a necessity in being proactive. We're continuing to push. I think this week's actions have certainly brought attention to this. So we're pushing forward on that front. We are indeed continuing to stand with Israel, and I am astounded, absolutely astounded, that the White House has not weighed in on this. Yeah. It is imperative that we stand with Israel. They are our greatest ally. And absolutely. President Biden needs to stand up and say something about this. We know that Hamas is funding a lot of these rockets. We know that a lot of their money is coming out of Iran. We have been very guarded and have spoken out repeatedly against what John Kerry and this administration are trying to do with reopening negotiations with Iran. We're very concerned about this loosening and lifting of sanctions and sending assets and money into Iran. We're going to stay on this issue.
And I know you will, and we're grateful for it. Senator Marsha Blackburn, always great to have you on the program. Thanks for standing firm on Capitol Hill.